Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another GeneaVlogger live stream. Today, we're going to continue building that Taylor Swift family tree. So thank you, everyone, for joining me today. I'm looking a little glitchy here. I might need to clean up my settings real quick. But welcome. I see a bunch of people already saying hello. If you haven't said hello, say hello and let me know where you're coming from. Hopefully, the Wi-Fi will be a lot better today than it was last time. I do see it's a little low, so hopefully won't be too terrible. Let's see. I need to change this background. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. I think. I can't. All right. Well, it's not going to matter too much because I'm going to be smaller on the screen, and our focus is going to be on Taylor Swift's family tree. So let's just go ahead and open that. So we've got that Swift family tree. This is what we built out last time. Didn't do much on the siblings and stuff, but today I was thinking when I do the family tree, building this out, we'll focus on the paternal side, but even more, I'm going to try to do a couple or go through a couple of different techniques that I like to use in genealogy, depending on the research. Okay, let's, for one, we definitely want to fix that screen. Let's make that nice and big so everyone can see it well. We want me to come into focus. Come into focus. There we go. That's a little bit better. Let's do this. Yeah, I don't need to be that big, do I? Okay, that's looking good. So let's go through a few hellos. William Malliam from Australia. Michael Clark, again in the stream from England. Hello. Nova, hello. Stephen Millsap, a very common name up here. And thank you for calling me a wonderful genealogist. Thank you. We have Udo from Bonn, Germany. We have Alexandra, Koblenz, Germany. Alexandra on a lot. We have Sari from Phoenix, Anna Arsenault. Did I say that correctly? Arsenault from San Francisco, welcome. Highlander, welcome from Canada, just joined the Discord. So if you're not in the Discord, we have a GeneaVlogger Discord. We talk about genealogy and lots of other stuff related to genealogy and lots of memes with genealogy and just, yeah. So if you're not on the Discord, definitely check it out. I'm sure if Charlie or someone from the Discord's in here, they might be able to post that invite, and I'll put that up on screen. We have Karma coming from Nebraska. Hello, Karma. Another one of our common names on here. We have Maven, another one from the Discord as well. And Freezing are in here. And thoughts on Find a Grave taking away the ability to suggest edits for gender, but not removing it entirely. I remember I saw that was being discussed in the Discord. I didn't do too much of a deep dive into it, but that's definitely an interesting thing that they did that you can't suggest a change, especially when I know that there are some users that when they upload stuff quickly, sometimes they don't mark everything properly or mark everything. Anyway, we have T. Suram from Coleraine NI. Or is that Netherlands? Where is that from? Northern Ireland. Okay. There we go. Welcome. Sajuka, hello. One of our Ukrainian watchers. Massive shelling last week. I'm glad to be with you all again. Well, I'm glad to hear that you're okay, and I am very happy that you are with us. Urban, I can't even imagine. Laurel from California, hello. We have Kelly coming from Brockton, Massachusetts. And yes, glad to hear you're okay. We've got Eric from Kansas City, Missouri, I believe. We've got Vidi from Finland, -5 Fahrenheit here today. Wow. And then hello all from the UK. There is a Discord link in the description if you are on YouTube. I don't know if there's a link to it if you're on Twitch or Facebook, though. And then hello from Germany. All right. So lots and lots of hellos. I don't want to spend too much time doing that. let me update that. All right, so getting to the family tree. So the focus today, we're going to focus on Taylor Swift's paternal side. And what I thought I'd start with is talking about the method quick and dirty trees. And I don't know how many of you have ever heard of this concept before. It's a concept that is mostly tied to genetic genealogy, and especially for non-parental events, unknown parentage cases, and investigative genetic genealogy. And basically the idea of a quick and dirty tree is that your focus is building these trees quickly, not necessarily focusing on the accuracy, which I'm going to talk about this a bit more in a second, obviously, but not focusing as much on the accuracy, focusing more on getting a lot built quickly, because with genetic genealogy, you're basically looking for connections between matches. So the idea of this really comes from the concept that when you are taking a DNA test and you get your genetic matches back, you have lots and lots of genetic matches. And what you do to figure out how your genetic matches that you don't know, or for the genetic matches that you don't know how you're related to them, what you need to do to figure out how you're related is, first of all, cluster them up. So then, see, do they cluster up with relatives you do know how you're related with? Because then you can figure out, okay, well, it'll be through that side. But then also clustering up with other people that you might not know how they're related. And so let's say you get a cluster where it's all people where you don't know how any of them are related. Well, what you're going to want to need to do then is build out their trees and figure out how they're related. But if you have 5 different people that you have to build out their trees, and you take the time and go through each person to do a full genealogical proof standard of exhaustive research and, going into every single contradiction and all that stuff and coming up with a final conclusion with each single person, then, it's going to take a long time just to build each tree. And so what you need to do is you need to build the trees quickly. So I don't know if C.C. Moore was the one to coin this term, but basically quick and dirty is that idea of we're going to build it quick and we're not going to focus that much on verifying everything. Now, it doesn't mean we're not going to verify anything. And that's kind of how I'm going to show you today is the technique of being able to do quick and dirty without it being just complete garbage, because that's the thing with quick and dirty is that, dirty doesn't necessarily mean that you're not verifying anything, I guess is a way to say it. So the way we're going to start when you do the quick and dirty method, the best way to start is going ancestral, because the main focus with this kind of stuff, usually when you have a cluster of genetic matches, is they're clustering because they all share some sort of ancestry. So if you build all of their trees out, you should eventually find ancestors that they all share. And so with this, what we want to do is get as far back as we can. So the dirtiest method would be to just do these add manually right off the bat. And so you can do a quick review detail and look at the record. So, 1920, we see Rose Baldy Douglas. Well, she might be in there, but we know she'll be in the 1930. So we can click on that, and you have to go into the profiles. For some reason, they don't make it where you can just click on this and then go into the document, which they should just have a quick link right here of, go to record. Because right now, all I see is Charles G. Douglas, but I don't see the wife. I don't see the children, just him. And I have no way to get to it, which is kind of, frustrating. It's like, okay, well, I see the records, but you're not giving me enough of the record to correlate. But anyway, so what I do with the quick is instead of just adding these in, I do a quick look at them, so reviewing these details. Okay, we've got Louise Baldy, we've got, all of these different censuses, and kind of, I guess what I'm looking for here is I'm looking for any signs that there's something odd going on. So something like that would be if we saw multiple instances of the 1920 United States Census listed here. That is very odd. There are people that in the federal censuses have been recorded multiple times, but it is extremely rare. In my entire time of doing genealogy, I've only ran across one situation like that. And you could basically tell what it was because it was this girl in my family where she was staying with my ancestors, probably on vacation or something in southern New Jersey. And then a few weeks later, maybe a month later, she's also listed in the household with her family who were living in Philadelphia, I think it was. And you can see the time, you know, when it was recorded, they had it recorded. And so you could tell, okay, there's nobody else in the world. There's no indication that there were multiple people with that girl's name. And, you know, the conclusion had to be that she had been recorded twice. And it is something that has happened, but very rarely. But main point being is that if we saw a bunch of, you know, especially if it was like a couple of 1920 censuses and a couple of 1900 censuses and a couple of 1930 censuses, which it's not uncommon finding that on Ancestry, because there are a lot of people that go on Ancestry and they just do hint adding nonstop. They don't review it. They don't look at it in any sort of in-depth way. They just add. So I'm taking a look here just to see general, okay, do the records seem to actually make sense? Now what we're going to actually do is we're going to go into Rose's profile. So we already see the parents, Charles, and it's going to show up here, Charles and Louise. And so when we go into the hints, what we just want to find is basically something that just proves that. So the first thing would be, can we find like a birth record or a marriage record that lists both of her parents' names? And you'll often find stuff like this, which is not what I'm going to use, because this is just a family tree built by other people on another website, that website being GeneaNet. So that isn't, that's a secondary source in a sense. We're looking for primary sources. So here we go. U.S. Presbyterian Church records. We have her baptism. And you don't always necessarily need to do it, but if it's a record that I'm not familiar with, I'll take a look at the record just to check. Like, you know, with this, I've never seen these records. This is obviously a very specific record set to, well, I guess, I don't know, U.S. Presbyterian Church records. I guess maybe I haven't done a whole lot of Presbyterian Church research, but, you know, I've never seen this record, so I need to actually look at it to figure it out. Now, actually, I'm talking so much and going so fast, I didn't even remember her name. So Rose Baldy Douglas. So Rose Baldy Douglas. Here we go. We have Rose Baldy Douglas. And then this is interesting too, because now we get more of a story. So we see that it looks like she was baptized along with her siblings, Louise Amelia and Charles Gwynn Jr., because we see their parents here, Charles Gwynn Douglas and Louise Baldy Douglas. So we're getting that confirmation. And on top of that, we're getting these siblings. We have an actual birth date, July 30th, 1920. We also have siblings' birth dates, which gives us more to correlate if we were doing in-depth research, not quick and dirty. So we're going to go ahead and add this in and update the information. So this here, one thing to note is we are adding in the married name for Louise. So we definitely want to make sure that the maiden name is correct. And even though we have the married name here, the maiden name is the middle name. So instead, what I do, let's just go in and edit this. So one of the nice things with editing as you add stuff in is that it just keeping the tree clean makes it easier to look at. And in my mind, it just keeps it more organized, which is funny because I am such a clutter person. Like I literally have clutter everywhere. So yeah. All right. So no, didn't add it in. There we go. So let me see what this is. Taylor Swift's grandmother, Rose. Yeah. Okay. So her grandmother, Rose, and then, oh, the parents are not living. We know that. Just edit that. Quick edit. Deceased. So let's go back in. So quick and dirty tree, basically at this point, I might move on. Sometimes depending on the records, I might be like, okay, you know what? Let me just add in another record just to be doubly sure. Because I want to make these trees look nice. I want to add the photos in. So we've got our grandmother's photo. Let's see. Look at that. That's, gosh, I hate how Ancestry does this. If anyone knows how to fix this, whatever this is, causing this weird narrow window when I have photos come up. But you can definitely see similarities to Taylor Swift there. So, all right, let me check chat real quick. Very funny, Steven. I saw a tree of 300,000 that has one source on everyone. Yeah, I mean, that's what they probably just transferred it all from one single place. Yeah. I saw a tree that went back to Adam and Eve. Would love to see all the sources. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, basically, once you get back far enough, then it's basically you're just working on biblical stuff. And, I hear from some genealogists who will be like, yeah, anything pre-16th century, I barely even believe, or, they'll have some century that they choose. So, Michael, I'm a big fan of your channel, but I absolutely cannot stand Taylor Swift. She's an overrated hussy who calls her albums Taylor's own, like the album that she recorded initially weren't her own. I barely know anything about Taylor Swift. I've heard a couple of songs. Honestly, the most that I've ever learned about Taylor Swift is through the girls that I know who are obsessed with Taylor Swift. But beyond that, the only reason I chose Taylor Swift to focus on is because, for one, I looked at her tree quickly on Genie, and I saw she has a big tree, and there's lots of different stuff going on. And then on top of that, she's trending a lot. So, I am trying to build up my audience, and trending artists are usually the best way to go. So I have a whole list of people that I'll be doing too. That it's going to be a varying array of people, but most of it's going to be trending celebrities when I do these. So seems like a browser issue. I've never had that. Yeah, it might be. I'm not sure what it is. It seemed to start when I got an eGPU, but I don't know. Expand the sides. Yeah, I've tried expanding the sides. I've tried minimizing and zooming in, zooming out. Command plus, command minus. But yeah. All right. Oh yeah, you're responding to Michael. Technically, they aren't because the record labels own them. Actually, I used to work in the music industry, and so yeah, I think from my understanding, so she owns both the masters and the actual copyright of the song. But I don't know exactly. I've never looked in depth, but I actually, for those that don't know, part of my family is I descend from the Mills Music Publishing family, and my great grandfather Jack Ekoff, who was a first cousin to the Mills Music Brothers, was their general sales manager for many years, and so family was heavily involved in a lot of that stuff. And so me being a musician and working in the industry and all of that, I learned a lot about this stuff. And my cousin Stanley Mills, who recently passed away, was actually was he president of the Harry Fox Agency? But the Harry Fox Agency is really big in music. If you work in the music industry, you recognize it immediately because that's you have to go through for certain licensing. And so, yeah, he also is the one that brought the chicken dance to the U.S., my cousin Stanley Mills. So if you've ever heard the chicken dance, that's my cousin. Okay. All right, yeah. Everything else is about the Taylor Swift gossip stuff. Let's continue with the actual genealogy research. So we're just going to continue kind of with the quick and dirty tree idea. So now we've gotten back one generation, and the main focus, we're going to say we want to get back to all of the second great grandparents. So, parents, grandparents, second great grandparents. So we're going to just focus on this side, and you can see that there's nothing popping up here. And the main reason for that, knowing Ancestry, is because there's barely any information here other than names. So because of that, we are going to go back to rows, and we're going to see if we can find any records that will add more information for her parents, most specifically a census record. So here we've got the 1940 census where she's 20 years old living with her family. So this one looks pretty good. We're going to add that in. So that adds some birth dates, some regular stuff. There we go. Let's add the siblings. The two siblings we saw were baptized at the same time with her. So, and boom, there we go. So now we have Charles Douglas, Mary Jane Gwynn, Charles C.A. Baldy, Louisa Sobernheimer. So we're going to do what we did before. We're going to do some of that quick and dirty ad. Now, U.S. Find a Grave, that's a great way to go too. Because for the most part, not always, but for the most part, Find a Grave is fairly accurate with the family stuff. In my experience, like I said, not always, but worst case scenario, you can always click in and take a look, and they have a what looks like a death record. And let's see, Charles G. Douglas, father's name Charles G. Douglas, Mary Gwynn. There we go. That's exactly what we need. And so we can go ahead and add that in. So let's go back and add that in. So we can even get the dates updated. What's the difference in spelling? Gwyn without an E. If the mother's maiden name was Gwyn without an E, that's probably what it is. So that's one of those contradictions that you don't have to really worry about when dealing with quick and dirty trees, but I'm trying to make the tree look nice. So interesting, Douglas here is double S. And one of the things with Find a Grave is it's not always, but often more accurate, just because they have a gravestone going with the or a grave record going with what they're putting on there. But as I keep saying over and over and over, not always. Now it does have a middle name here, so we'll click that in and then just add back in Baldy, and we're going to save that to the tree. And so now we've got Charles Douglas's parents added in. So now let's add Louise's. And so just, Charles Carmine Antonio Baldy, Louisa Sobernheimer. And we don't want to do GeneaNet. Censuses are okay, but I don't always like to start with census records as what I add in for this quick and dirty method, just because census records, especially like names like Douglas, and when you've got, Father Charles, who might also go by, spouse Charles, and a Father Charles who might be going by Chaz or something else, there's just a lot of the higher the possibility that you might actually be looking at a census record of other people with the same or similar names, the less confidence. So that's kind of why, it's like, okay, I don't want to focus on that. We do know the name Baldy too, which I guess that's not quite as common, but here, Father CCA. So we want to look for something good that gives those parents names if possible. Oh, interesting. We have a Orders Sons of Italy in America Mortuary Fund claims. Okay, let's take a look at that. I know, even though we're doing the quick and dirty method, I want to take a look at that. So this is what Taylor Swift's great grandfather, I think it is, Leonard Bachman. This is to certify that this is a true copy of the record, which is on file at Pennsylvania Department of Health. Blah blah. So okay, it's a death record. It's just it was a death record ordered back in 1953, fee $2. So this is back in the day, and I'm sure a lot of the older genealogists on here are like, oh, I used to have to do this. Back in the day, before it was all digitized, you either had to go to a library or a family history center or something to get microfilm, microfiche, or you had to order it. So when I started my first genealogy research was, what was I? 7 or 8, so that would have been in the 90s. But I never got seriously into genealogy research until a little bit later. But when I got seriously into genealogy research around 2009, that was right when a lot of the older ways started getting phased out, like microfilm and microfiche. You could still order through family centers, through the family search libraries, which they stopped. I can't even remember, years ago. But then I remember this was before Netherlands changed their law to make record access easier. And I actually had to order a bunch of records from the North Holland Archive, which had like a bunch of records on, a ton of my family, but I was ordering records on the marriage of my third great grandparents, Rafael Nunes Vaz and Reina Robles, mainly because at that time I didn't know who Reina Robles' parents were. And receiving those records in the mail, which was like months later, like I had almost not forgotten about it, but I'd gotten to the point like, oh, they're not going to send me anything. And I got it in the mail, and it had her parents' names in it. Her mom's maiden name, her father's name. So her father was Isaac Robles. Her mother was Rachel Enriquez Pimentel. And it was like, oh my gosh, this was like the first major breakthrough that I ever had in my family tree back in 2009, something like that. So before that, I built family trees, but it was always, hitting brick walls quick. So, okay, so here we have Louise Baldy Douglas, father Charles Gwynn Douglas, Louise E. Sobenheimer. That's interesting. I don't know if I've seen a lot of death certificates that will list if their parents are alive or deceased. How old was she when she passed? Does it say date of death 76? 80. She was 80. And wait, so that's interesting. So she was, we'll have to see, was Louise Sobenheimer older? Because if Louise is deceased at 80 and it's saying her father's deceased, but not her mother, presumably her mom's alive, and that would mean her mom's got to be at least in her 90s. So, okay, that's very interesting. So let's, all right. This works. We'll add this one in. Yeah. Oh, it didn't include the parents. All right. Well, we know it's the parents. So sometimes if that happens, it's the parents, you can just go ahead and add this. Granted, I hate when it's ones with like these photos and all this, stuff like that. So we're going to clean that up in a second. But the main focus here is we want to look at the mother. So, okay, weird. Okay, so why did it say this? I don't know. That's so weird. It showed deceased for the father, but not for the mother. And I'm surprised. Let's see if we can get anything coming up in here. All right. I need to stay on focus. So, okay. So the focus here, once again, quick and dirty trees. So we are what? We're 30 minutes in, or no, not even, just a little under 30 minutes. And we've added in these great grandparents and these great grandparents. So now we're going to get these ones added in. And I'm going to do it quick. I'm not even going to chat because I just want to kind of show how quick it can be when you're just kind of focusing on just knocking it out. So we basically just want to get for this one, parents. Wow, 96 years old. Kingsley. Okay. right, so just a few more seconds and we should have that all built out. So this is the what the quick and dirty method looks like. It's just quick. 1-2 records you're using for building the tree, so you do have something to base it on. It's not just what other people are building, but within that small amount of time, boom, we've got this family tree built out this far. And if we wanted to, let's see, are any loading? We could probably get further back, not too difficult on most of these lines. Some of them are taking a while to load. So, but let's say at this point, let's say Taylor Swift was our DNA match, right? And Taylor Swift is matching to the point that she's about maybe a third or fourth cousin or so. So with a, first cousin, you share grandparents. Second cousin, you share great grandparents. Third cousin, you share second great grandparents. And fourth cousin, you share third great grandparents. So right now we have it built out to the second great grandparents. So presumably if third cousin was our closest, then that would be the focus of, okay, well, now that we've built out to these, now we want to build back down. Because if Taylor's our DNA match, then we need to figure out how she's related. And sometimes to do that, you need to build back down. So trying to think of how to put this in a scenario that works here. Actually, I guess before I do that, let me check on chat because I haven't looked at chat and I know that can build up. Let's see. Okay. So let's see. I know I don't like GenieNet. Can you clearly explain what is wrong with GenieNet? Well, I hope you're not getting two sites mixed up because there's GenieNet, GeneaNet, which is a French website, and that is a family tree building website. They do have some records on there, and basically Ancestry contracted with them to be able to, I guess, take their database and put it into the Ancestry database as, it or index it in their database. So basically you can find it. Now there is also Genie.com, which is GENI.com, which, that's why I'm not sure if you're mixing those up or which one you mean necessarily. But Genie.com, you don't get that through Ancestry, but Genie.com is what's known as a collaborative family tree. So they're building one family tree that the aim is that everyone merges their tree into this one tree so that everybody's connected. So if you have, a cousin that goes on there and they build their tree, once they get to the ancestry that you both share, the trees will then be merged. And now you're both working together on that same tree. So basically that's why it's the world tree. So, there are downsides to that, but I'm not going to get too into that right now. Let's see. There is a public school in Philadelphia named after CCA Baldy. That's interesting. That's cool. Maybe we'll look that up in a second. So I guess school in Philadelphia named after Taylor Swift's second great grandfather, Charles Carmine Antonio Baldy. All right. Okay, let's see. Interesting. I didn't know they're doing that. I'll have to look at the monetize options and see, because they do have it where it's basically set so that it does ads, but I didn't know it was doing mid-roll. Let's see. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. Oh, you did hear my dog barking. Yeah, they were barking at something. WikiTree is better than Genie and Family Search, in my humble opinion. In my humble opinion, Genie's better than the other two. My ranking goes Genie, Wiki, Family Search, with Family Search a lot lower. But everyone has their preferences, and I can definitely understand why some people lean more towards WikiTree. And I definitely understand why there are some people that lean much more towards Genie. I just wish the two communities got along much better, because I know that there's a lot of animosity between some people in some of those communities. And, I haven't had too many issues with WikiTree with dealing with that. A lot of people at WikiTree are great, great people, especially a lot of the people that are running it. But, I have had a few run-ins with users, but that's also not to say that I haven't also had a few run-in with users on Genie. But no matter what, I think we can all agree that Find a Grave, the users on Find a Grave, they take the cake with being some of the most difficult ones. Not saying everyone on Find a Grave is the most difficult, but I'd say the most difficult people I've ever dealt with in the genealogy community have been people on Find a Grave. But I've also found some of the most amazing people in the genealogy community on Find a Grave. So anyway, so back to this. So let's say, okay, before we were talking about the idea of clustering. So we have a whole bunch of DNA matches, and we find a bunch of people that are clustering together, and we don't know how any of them are related to us. And Taylor Swift is one of them, and we've just built out this tree, and then all of a sudden we notice this Baldy name. And we did this same quick and dirty tree for one of the other people in this cluster, and they also had the Baldy name in their family tree. Well, that to us is a big hint. Okay, the Baldy name seems to be a correlation, so that's probably where we're going to look. Just to make it even more confident for us in this scenario, multiple people within this cluster have the Baldy name. So we know it's the Baldy name. So based on the DNA, we think that Taylor Swift is a third cousin to us. And based on this Baldy correlation within the cluster, we believe that she's a third cousin through the Baldy family. And let's even say, I don't actually, that's all we'll say for now. So now the main aim is, if we believe that we are third cousins, that means that we're going to be sharing second great grandparents. Because once again, first cousins share grandparents, second cousins share great grandparents, third cousins share second great grandparents. I always like to think of the number cousin is one more than the number great grandparents that you share. But either way, if we share these great grandparents or second great grandparents, then presumably we would descend from these second great grandparents as well. So what we want to do is we want to build out their descendants and build those out. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a method that I like to call sweeping the branches. And I don't know if I've ever heard this term used before. I've used this term for years. It's actually something that I've almost wanted to write about, because it's like, I want to coin this term because I think it works really well. But sweeping the branches is basically the idea of when you're doing what's known as descendancy research. So building down the family tree to try to find living descendants or how someone is connected into that tree, that when you're doing that, doing this sweeping the branches, you're going from one side to the other. So you're keeping your research organized in a way so that you can build out everything you need to without missing anything. Because that's something that can happen is, as you're doing a lot of this research, like, if this guy has 12 kids and then we've got to build out their trees, and then each of those kids has at least 3 or 4 kids, I mean, then we're looking at 30 or 40 different people that we have to go through each. And then who knows how many kids they have, because we're looking at someone in 1862. So, his grandchildren are people born in the early 1900s. So it's, he could have a lot of living descendants. I've seen people born in the early 1900s who have thousands of descendants because they had tons of kids, sometimes with multiple wives. So the main focus here is we want to build out down, but now we're not doing quick and dirty, because now the focus is we've already figured out the quick and dirty method, or what we want from the quick and dirty method, which is how do these clusters connect? It's the Baldy tree. Well, then, the step that I skipped is that once you figure that out, then you go back through that line tracing from your match to the ancestor to check that, yeah, it is it is correct. That it matches or it fits the genealogical proof standard. is what you could technically say. So now we want to build down, but we want to be accurate. So we can still be quick, but then as we go through each one, we still also want to be accurate. So one of the things that we want to focus on too is we want to make sure that we're, like reading obituaries and looking at the records and kind of making sure that the indexed information is also correct. So, here we have this CCA. It says that there's a bio, so we want to see what the bio is. We've got that full obituary, it seems. So this is Taylor Swift's second great-grandfather. With great sadness, we announced the passing of Charles Carmine Antonio Baldi Sr. on December 28th, 1930. He was 68 years old. Charles was born in Castelnuovo Salento, Italy. I'm sure I butchered the pronunciation of that. To Vito Baldi and Rosa Galzerno on December 2nd, 1862. He went to lead a life full of love, laughter, and adventure. Charles was a devoted husband to his wife, Louise Erundine Sobernheimer. I don't know if I pronounced that right. And a loving father to his children, Dr. Frederick Sobenheimer Baldi, Vito M. Baldi, Charles Carmine Antonio Baldi Jr., Joseph M. Baldi, Virgil, Rose, and Miss Louise Baldi Douglas, which is great because now we have all of the children. And one thing to note here is with the obituary, it says a loving father to his children. It's not a list of living children. So presumably it's listing all of his children. So that's good for us because when we're doing descendancy research, that's one of the questions is, have we identified all of the descendants? So first, have we identified all the children? Have we identified all the the grandchildren and so on? So looking here to see, we have Dr. Frederick Sobenheimer Baldi listed, Vito Baldi listed, Charles Carmine Antonio Baldi Jr. listed, Joseph, there we go, right there, Virgil Baldi, Virgil Bismarck Baldi, Rose Baldi, and then Louise Baldi Douglas. So we've got that all. So that's good. We can go ahead and add all of this in and make sure it's all connected. So let's get this all cleaned up. Wait, Philadelphia is better. So those are the same. Just change that. Add all of these in. Okay. So for typical research, I would go through and keep checking everything. So basically, I would go through and just, check the census records, make sure that there wasn't, some son or daughter who was, disowned by the family and not listed in the obituary, but, easily found somewhere else. We're not going to do that just for time's sake. But the main other thing is we want to jump right into the idea of sweeping the branches. So the idea of sweeping the branches is that now that we're at this point of, okay, we know that we're looking at all the descendants of Charles Baldi, we're going to look at all of his children, then all of his grandchildren, and so on. So sweeping the branches is the idea of basically you're going left to right, which usually means oldest to youngest, and you're going left to right, checking each person. And you can do this in a few ways. One way is left to right. You first start with Frederick and you add in all of his children. Then once you have all of his children, okay, now we go on to Vito. Add all of his children, go to Charles, all their children, so on, and each go through each one. And then once you've added in all of those children, then you go down to the next generation, and then you start doing the same thing again. The other option is that you can do it full descendancy. So we don't just start with Frederick's children. We build all of his children. Then we start at his oldest child, build all of their children, and then, go through. And so basically we just keep building down the line until we finish up with Frederick, and then we go back to Vito. And I'll do it different ways depending on what I see with the tree, on how big the tree is, how big the descendants are, or how many descendants there are. and that'll help guide me. So the main thing is that, first we're going to start here with Frederick, do a quick update that he is male, and then we're going to add in his children. So obituaries are usually a great way to get all of the children, because at the time of their death, presumably they have all the children listed. We don't see anything quick into his death. We probably do a search for an obituary. He dies 1970, so can we find? So we have 1940 census, no 1950. But let's see. So 1940, Dr. F.S. Baldy. Let's see where he's living. Maybe we can just want to make sure that this is our Dr. F.S. Baldy. Let's turn on that. So Dr. F.S. Baldy. Nothing necessarily to indicate it's not, but it's nothing that tells us that it definitely is. So Frederick Baldy, I mean, I think it probably is, because his wife is Edith Baldy. Got 1942, so Edith's probably the closest relative listed. Philadelphia County Prison. What? Interesting. Wait, name and address of person who will always know your address. Philadelphia County Prison. Employer's name. Oh, but that's so weird. So they work for the prison. So this is Taylor Swift's this is Taylor Swift's great grandmother's brother. That's so interesting. Okay, well, I guess. Oh wait, no, Frederick Baldy. But I thought he was a doctor. Is he a doctor in the prison? Or is that not him? So we have this other Frederick Beide. So this is interesting. What is going on here? Am I missing something? I see this plus here. St. Holmesburg. All right. 1940. What does it say for his occupation? Just medical doctor. He wasn't the one selected, was he? No, he wasn't. Oh, okay, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, they just didn't know. So, okay, so that's really interesting. So dependent. So he was a doctor in the county prison. Dr. Frederick Baldy. Let's see. So it looks like Jeannie's. Oh, ooh. 6 debates set on death penalty. Frederick, a former warden of Rockview Penitentiary. That's really interesting. That's not. All right, let's see. Frederick S. Baldy. Ooh, is that a photo of him? Oh, check it out. This is his obituary. So, all right, well, we can save to Ancestry. (1977). I have to admit, having seen a lot of newspapers, this one looks a little bit more recent than 1977. This looks more like 1980s, 1990s. Except when you look at the ads, then you can tell. But like, I don't know, something about this. Random. Okay. Title: Dr. Frederick Baldy obituary. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, that's good. That's good. All right. Let's read this. I kind of want to find out about this whole prison thing. So, died at 90 years old. I feel like we've seen a lot of our family lives very long, or at least this family. Yeah, look at this. 1886 to 1977, 1888 to 1974, 1893 to 1973, or 1970, not 1973, 1896, 1970. So, I mean, granted, some of them not quite as long, but yeah. Okay, so very interesting. This is pretty cool. This is the kind of stuff, like if I were to be doing a YouTuber family tree series on Taylor Swift, this would be like probably one of the things I would like, a story I would focus on. Because this is the kind of stuff that brings out just such interesting, unique parts of history where it's like, you get to see, the life of someone who had an impact on, state correctional institutions in Pennsylvania and, the things they did. And then, you can see how they're described and then look at the records to kind of see, what's the story of, told through the records versus what's the story told through obituaries or bios or things like that. But then also you get other things that you can look into, like, a book of stories about prisoners called My Unwelcome Guest. Like, that's so cool. Let's see, what is it? My Unwelcome Guest. My Unwelcome Guest. Yeah. So this is a book written by Taylor Swift's let's see, I guess that'd be what, a second great aunt, or not aunt, second great uncle, or a great grand uncle, depending on how you look at it. Although based on the polls that I've ran, it seems to be the former. Okay. So I keep getting distracted with this stuff. So we wanted to add the children. We added these children. Right? Yeah, we did. That's Charles Carmine. So we want to add Frederick's children. So One thing you can use, but you don't always have to, are Ancestry member trees. We do have this compensation file, which on the second page will list children he's had at this point. But this is 1934. And I think from what we saw, he hadn't had any yet. So we do have the parents here, Edith M. Baldini Cooper, Nay Cooper. I always say Nee. Ooh, Roxborough, Philadelphia, Passyunk Ave. Yeah, I'm very familiar with the area. Lots of family there. And actually, a few years ago, I was down in Manayunk, Pennsylvania, at the Historical Society. And yeah, okay. Wait, no. I forgot to go to the next page. So next page. Oh wait, this is oh no, this is a World War One. I'm thinking of the later ones. Aren't I? Okay. Lieutenant Frederick S. Baldy. What a life lived. Let's see. Yard. Oh. Lake Charles, Louisiana. So wait, was he overseas? No. Engagements, Northern Bombing Group, U.S. Marine Aviation Forces. Wow. Oh, we do have minor children. Charles C.A. Baldy III. But how? Okay. Very cool. Serve overseas July 1918, January 1919. Honorably discharged, Philadelphia. Left Hoboken. Now, this is one of the things that was a big downside for working in investigative genetic genealogy is this is the kind of stuff where it's like you had to completely be like, this is not worth my time. I have to just build trees. And that was kind of one of the things that was like, I kind of love about genealogy is, looking into the stories. So, we're just looking at Frederick, and now here we have Virgil, who I'm pretty sure is his older brother, Virgil. And he was on the USS Oklahoma. So, yeah, Roxborough, Philadelphia. Ruth, we have Louis, the parents. Yeah. So, and most of these are in order. So if we go through, we'll probably find multiple siblings. They might be further back. All right. But we're not going to focus too much on this. All right. But we are going to add this in. I don't know if it's going to add in that son. But supposedly as a son, Charles Carmine, who would be this Charles. So I think that's enough correlation. So we'll go ahead and add that in. Edith, Charles. Because just to say again, the focus here now is we're building this down. We're building the family tree down. So let's see, passport applications. I wonder if this will have a photo. Any photos? Any photos? No photos. Okay. So not much information here, but 319 Green Lane, Roxborough. So it might just be Charles. I'm going to take a peek at the other trees to see. And yeah, all of them list only Charles. So at this point, the way that I would word this, like in an investigative genetic genealogy scenario, like let's say we're looking for, a Jane Doe. We're trying to identify a Jane Doe, and Taylor Swift was the match along with a bunch of others, and we're in this Baldy family. And so, we want to identify all of the descendants. And at this point, it seems that Charles is likely the only descendant, but it is hard to tell 100%. There is always the possibility that Frederick had a child out of wedlock, or there, some other non-paternal event going on, or something happening. But based on our information, he's the only identified child. So we wouldn't harp on the fact that, there could be others out there. We're going to mention it. It's going to be part of the conversation. But the main thing is just saying, he's the only identified child. Doesn't mean he is the only child. Could be, doesn't mean. So, but now we want to get into his children. So remember, we're sweeping the branches. So I talked about, we could build all the children and then go to the next sibling and build all their children and so on and so forth. Or we could just keep building one branch down until we kind of get to the living descendants, which, once we start getting into living descendants, I'm going to back off a little bit. But in this case, only one child, definitely going to continue on this because it should be an easy one to clear up quickly. And so we've got a World War II compensation file. So this is the one I was thinking about before, where you need to go to the next page to see the children and spouse. So you go to the next page, list any spouse and any children. None, but we do have the parents, Frederick S. Baldy, Edith Cooper Baldy, and let's just take a look. Bucks County. Yeah, so this family heavy into Philly. And Mount Airy. My family very heavily part of Mount Airy. And I did a video on thinking so fast and talking so fast. I did a video on a family reunion I had in Germantown, technically, but Germantown, Mount Airy border, at a place that used to be owned by my family that was called the Ross House. And now it's the Commodore Barry Club, I think, or something. But it's also known as the Irish Center. But was there a few years ago we had a family reunion there. It was so cool. And I did a video on it. But let's see. So enlisted in 1943. And then discharged 1946. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. We're not going to focus on the story. You know what I realized? I realized that I have not checked chat in a while. So let me check chat. Check chat. All right. Answer that. I love American Obituaries for filling out a tree. Even just a few years ago, they still list everyone under the sun in them. Yeah, American Obituaries are awesome. I feel like a decent amount of other countries have good obituaries too, but I guess it does vary. But yeah, some American obituaries get really heavy into it. And especially for research for finding living relatives and stuff, or unknown parentage research and stuff like that, obituaries are amazing. All right, we have some more people jumping in. Hello, everybody. Hello, welcome. For those who are just jumping in, to review a bit of what we've done so far, we've built out Taylor Swift's paternal family tree. Don't forget these second great grandparents up here. So last stream we built out the maternal side, the maternal side. We didn't look at her maternal grandfather, but we built out this side, and now we're building out this Baldy part of the family tree, doing what's known as the sweeping the trees method. So sweeping the trees, we're sweeping from left to right. So basically we're building left to right to keep it somewhat organized as we try to identify all the living descendants of the of C C.A. Baldy, I believe it was. So right now we're trying to identify, did Charles C. Baldy have any children? We know by 1950 he didn't. The census here shows that too. But hey, look at that. What were we just talking about? Obituaries. So we don't have a link directly to the obituary here. We do have find a grave, but it doesn't really have any information other than it does correlate the dates, which we can then see with that veteran compensation record, which does have his parents' name, birth date 12th February 1922. That correlates to this 12th February 19. Wait, did I say 1922? 1920. Woo! 12th February 1920. And then down here, it correlates 12th February 1920. So it all matches up. We have the parents correlation on a document with that birth date, and that correlating with the birth date on this record, which then correlates to this death of January 28th, January 28th, 2011, which then correlates with this obituary, January 28th, 2011, to Mary Louise and Frederick de blah, 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 blah. I'm talking so fast that I can't even talk. Hopefully I'm making sense. If I'm making sense, give me a thumbs up in the chat, please. Okay. So we know that based on the correlation, it seems to be like, yeah, even though we can't see the obituary, this seems to be right. But one problem I have with this index on Ancestry is I often find children indexed on these will be indexed improperly, like the spouses, the children. It gets really muddled up, especially because the obituaries will do things differently. So sometimes the obituaries will list, survived by their children, Deborah, whatever, and husband, whatever. And then other ones will be survived by child Deborah with her married name and then have her husband's name in parentheses. Sometimes it'll be survived by child, Mrs. Husband's name. There's granted the Mrs. Husband's name ones are when you're looking at real early 1900s, but it varies, and their system doesn't seem to have a way to grapple with the different variations, or at least whenever they did index it, and they haven't fixed it. You can see the facts in this collection were found using artificial intelligence technology and may contain errors. So what they're using is what's known as OCR technology, optical character recognition. But this is an advanced version, which is very commonly, a lot of people will know a version of it known as Transcribus. So basically, this is a some cookies for you. Okay. So basically, you can see what it's doing. It's analyzing these handwritten records, historical documents. But the thing is you have to train it for different sets of documents. I mean, for one, different languages, as well as, especially with handwritten documents, you also have to deal with, different ways of abbreviating things, abbreviating names, abbreviating certain cities, or just, common things that maybe for that record set it makes sense, but for anyone that doesn't know that record set, it'd be like, what? So like a great example for the Portuguese Jewish community of Amsterdam, they call themselves Talmud Torah and Kahal Kados. And so often in the documents, they'll write KK, or they'll write TT, or trying to remember if they've written KKTT, but so there's, that's something that if someone was reading those documents who had no familiarity with the Portuguese Jewish community of Amsterdam, but they read Portuguese because the records are in Portuguese, they're going to be able to translate it, but then they're going to get to that part and be like, I'm not sure what this stands for. But if you know the community, it's like, oh, well, it's just Kahal Kados. It just means the community. It's just another way of saying that. So it's kind of like for those of us who are Jewish, who know about, the writing of Hebrew in terms of, I am not going to get into that actually. But for saying God, basically, the way that it's written is not the way that it's said. Continuing with Transcribus, that's, I don't know if they're using Transcribus for this stuff here on Ancestry, but Yeah. Similar. So the main thing here is now I want to find something that gives me the children's names much more confidently. So, Frederick W. Baldy certainly makes sense, but, both the names make sense. Deborah is probably married to someone named Matz, but I want to find that record. In 2011, those are going to be obituaries that you can almost always just find through a Google search. So 2011. And there we go. Charles C. Baldy, Charles C. Chuck, age 90, husband of the late Mary Louise née Peach, beloved father of Deborah A., husband Douglas. So there we have it in parentheses, Matz and Frederick W. And then I'm assuming his husband, Larry McReynolds, and then his name Baldy. Loving grandfather, Jared Charles Matz. So now we have another generation. And so, now we have all of this information. And there we go. And then we have Charles C. Baldy. So these are relatives of relatives of Taylor Swift. And we can see Chuck, graduate of Germantown Academy, Germantown, PA. Yeah. Attending Penn State University, graduated in 1942, was veteran of World War II, first lieutenant company commander for Heavy Weapons Company, 159th Infantry Regiment, which served France and Germany during the war. After serving his country, Chuck spent 48 years building a successful career in New York in the advertising business, where he was highly respected by his peers. He was a lover of horses and a friend to the end. Family requests donation be made in Chuck's memory too, and such. So Taylor Swift was obviously alive at this point. I wonder if she knew about this relative, because let's see, Charles, what would Charles be to Taylor? So Charles would be Taylor Swift's first cousin twice removed. So, all right. So going back, let's just add in the children. Ba-da-ba-da-da. And then we're going to save that. And now we're going to continue the sweep. So at this point, we've gotten to living relatives. I actually probably shouldn't do any more stuff bringing up living people's names. I shouldn't be putting people on blast as Taylor Swift's relatives. We'll just do, so now what we'll do is we'll do the sweeping branch method of we're just going to do children. So we're going to go through each of the siblings of Taylor Swift's great-grandmother Louise and identify all of their children. So we're just going to sweep the branch. Sweeping the branch. So I guess that makes this stream the first official time I've ever publicly tried to coin this term. So everyone note this historical moment. I'm not being vain at all, am I? Okay, so U.S. Sons of Italy in America order. That's the obituary. Mother's name. All right, so save the tree. Let's see, spouse Lucetta. I don't see any children though over the years. So it doesn't look like they had any children. Let's see what the family trees say. So married Lucetta Belfi, but no children. Died in 1974. And he was, when I looked at the records before for the compensation for Frederick, Vito was the one that we saw right afterwards. So Vito should be over here. Oh, Virgil, not Vito. Virgil. So the youngest brother. Interesting. So the oldest brother and the youngest brother. Let's actually. Who's before him? Frederick Baldy. Oh, there was more stuff on him. But this is somebody completely different. Raymond Badger. Maybe. Weird. So I guess, yeah. All right. All right. So back to that. So, okay. So Vito didn't have any children and a wife. Now, one of the things that is very commonly done, I don't always do it. I usually only do this when it's something I'm either working on for a client or in some sort of a team capacity, but adding in images to indicate certain things about people that you found in this sweeping the branches descendancy type of research. Or I guess it doesn't even need to be sweeping the branches, just descendancy. But basically, we have no children here. But if we were to come back to the tree later and be like, okay, well, were there children? I don't know, so there's a few things to do. One, you can add images so that not only do you know right off the bat when you're looking at the tree, but the other thing is you can add in these tags. So we have life, let's see, no children, but then we have these others: orphan, never married, multiple spouses, direct ancestor, died young, adopted out, adopted in, and others. But as well, you also have custom tags, which I've used all the time. And especially if you're doing research, like you have multiple people working on the same tree in Ancestry, one of the things you can do is, like, if someone has something that like they're vouching for, they can put their name and tag their name on it. Granted, you can put it in comments. So, we have no children here. We do have, did we get the spouse? Yeah. So we got Lucetta added in. I don't know. What was her actual maiden name? I don't think it was Baldy. All right, we're not going to focus too much. So we're going to go on to the next child. So sweeping the branch. So we did Frederick. Next is Charles Jr. Yes. So Charles Jr., born in 1889. We've got his death certificate, 1962. I'm guessing whoever ordered all of these, they probably ordered the entire family. So we have the parents there, so we can go ahead and add this in and be confident about our dates. Saved a tree. More of those Presbyterian records that or not more, it's the same record we looked at before, because they were all, was it the same record or no? This is a different one. Okay, this is a different one. It's just the same book, just way later. Wow, that's cool. I guess it would be the same book. I mean, I guess some of these baptism books, it's just a huge book that they keep for a long time. But yeah, so there we go. So another one of those. But the main focus we want: did he have a spouse and did he have children? 1930, we've got Gladys and Nancy, Gladys B. McCarthy. So let's take a look at where was it? I swear I just saw. Maybe I just mixed that up. Okay, I thought I saw a different type of record, but we do have this marriage record. I'm going to go ahead and add that in because I've seen Gladys enough that I'm pretty confident that that is her. So we'll get that added in. And then I thought I'd seen a compensation record, but I didn't. So doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and add in these census records to get these children added in. I want to see what's going on here. What's with Ethel Conia? One thing that does happen, not always, is sometimes you'll see people with other names, or the dates will be weird, or, and it's good to look here because some of them were indexed by like OCR technology. Some of them were indexed by people, but either way, there could be errors. And when it comes to people putting these in a lot, there's especially like weird errors that will happen. So we have Ethel is a servant, 29. So it definitely makes sense. We see here W for white, NEG. I think we all know what that means. Then we have that Charles Baldy was. Oh, what is that? A coal hoarder? Coal heater? Salesman, it looks like. So I guess, did he sell card healer? Huh. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not sure what that says. Now, with research, we could probably figure that out. Oh, it says coal dealer. It kind of looks like coal dealer, but it's one of those things where it's like, it certainly looks like coal dealer, but it could be something else. So it's, all right. But main thing, okay, Nancy's the only child here, so we'll get this added in, and then we'll want to see. He dies in 1962, so we should see him in 1940 and 1950. And it's not coming up, which there's a few things if it's not coming up in your hints. Number one, there we have 1950. Number one, you can go and do search for it. Number two, you can look at other people in the household because presumably you would also find them in the same thing, or in the same census. So here, 1962, we don't know if Gladys is deceased because I see we have 1950, no Gladys in the household. Says he's from Italy. What's it say? Oh, divorced. Divorced. Interesting. Check this out. U.S. high school yearbook. Okay. Now, if that's not cool. Okay. Where second mandolins, Carmine Baldy. So where's? Okay, there's got to be a way to identify. That's so cool. Talk about having such a musical gene for us to be doing this research and then to go and find a yearbook from when is this yearbook from? From 1905 of her let's see, her great grandmother's brother being in a mandolin, whatever. It's Central High School in Philadelphia. That's so cool. All right, so the only thing, it's such a shame that we can't it doesn't have it labeled exactly who's who. I was kind of hoping the way they had it like that, you might be able to figure it out, but I don't think so. So, but he was second mandolin, so that's cool. Baldy. All right. I guess I should also say, assuming this is him, granted, I'm pretty, how many Carmine Baldys were living in Philadelphia. We could probably look and see. That'd be something to check, actually. Because actually, as I say that, that's one of the things that's good with research is don't just try to prove yourself, try to disprove yourself. So like in this case, sure, Carmine Baldy, that's probably him, but well, were there other Carmine Baldys? Because if there were, then we might be wrong. So let's see, can we prove ourselves wrong? And so we would do a search. We'd say Carmine Baldy. 1889, give it 1 + 2 years. And they definitely lived in Philadelphia, PA. we'll say county and adjacent counties. And then I think he was born in Philly. So do that. And we see that from what we can tell, there's only one. So just to be doubly sure, looking at the census, let's open that up. Okay, so doesn't seem to be anybody coming close to being another Carmine Baldy or anything like that. Just to be doubly sure. So there we go. So in an attempt to try to prove myself wrong, I proved myself right. Now, what did I just see that showed Girard College? Oh my gosh. Ellsworth Street in Philadelphia in 1920. Ah. What is it? See, it's Ellsworth Street, but it should be Ellsworth Avenue, right? Let's see, what is it over here? Ellsworth Street. So the reason why I'm looking into this is that my family, it was on Ellsworth Avenue. Maybe it's not Ellsworth Street. All right. Ellsworth and Vernon. No, that's wrong. Yeah, I don't know. All right, the thing that I was looking into was I'm pretty sure my family were on Ellsworth, South Broad Street, but maybe not. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. All right. Let's not get too distracted. So we're going to go ahead and go back. So we've got Nancy added in 1950. Do we have any children? Nothing. Living alone. I guess the children would probably be with his wife. So we don't have a 1940 census. So we're going to see what's the deal with Gladys. Do we have 1930 and 1940 for her? All right, so we have 1940. So they were divorced by 1940. Daughter's not living with her. So where's Nancy? Where are you, Nancy? Nancy Berlin. Interesting. So we've got her 1920. She marries 1938. Okay, and yeah, so we had her in the 1940 census, but that's not the right one. It's connected here, right? Yeah. Oh, wait, no. No, we didn't have her in the 1940. Oh, that's right. I'm thinking 1930. So Besson is Berlin. So marriage index. Got the actual announcement. Is that her? Or is that someone else? No, that's Kate F. Davis from the other. So Berlin Baldy nuptial held. The marriage of Miss Nancy Painter Baldy, daughter of Miss Charles. So let's see. What I want to see is, do they talk about her having any siblings? No, it does not mention that. So one of the things with marriage announcements, if we're doing research like this, where we're trying to identify all the children of a couple, right now we're trying to identify all the children in the Baldy family. So Nancy Baldy's siblings. So we would look for that. And it doesn't mention any. And from what we've seen, it's, it doesn't seem like she has any siblings. So I'm just going to go ahead and add this in. And so, I guess basically 1938, the parents are divorced. Charles, Carmine, and Gladys, and it's just Nancy. And then Nancy passed away in 2008. So there we go. So, all right. So this is descendancy research using Taylor Swift's family tree. So, okay, so sweeping the branches. Nancy's the only one here, so we're done there. So now we move on to Rose, who passed away at the age of 28. So it's very possible she may not have been married. Oh, excuse me. All right, U.S. death certificate. So this will tell us right off the bat. Died of the flu, died of influenza in 1920. So I wonder if that was tied at all to the Spanish flu, which I thought was 1918, but I guess the whole Spanish flu thing was more than 1918. Yeah, end date April 1920. And this is February 1920. So, the fourth wave of the flu. So it looks like Taylor Swift's great grandmother's sister died as part of the 1920 fourth wave of the Spanish flu. If I'm reading all of this correctly, which this is just very, very surface level research, obviously. But, granted, this is saying between October 1919 and 23rd January 1920, the death is February 8th, 1920. And then how long does it say she was sick for? $5 months. Oh, wait, no, 5 days. Sick for 5 days. So, all right, let me check chat. I just realized I've not checked chat in a while. Check. Oh yeah, I haven't. Jeez, I missed a lot. Okay. Yeah, having done this myself to try and get as much into as possible to try and find surnames matching DNA matches. Good to know I wasn't doing it wrong. Yeah, it's a lot. It's when you're doing descendancy research, it can be a lot, and it can feel like it's an endless search because you're just looking kind of for like one person in a sea of like hundreds of people. And so, it can be really difficult. And that's why there's all these different methods to try to hone in on, ways to rule out certain branches. Irish American obits are amazing for adding in more recent people. In fact, Irish ones are the same. Lists everyone down a few generations and even their married surnames. Sweeping the branches. Keep that noted. It's like a puzzle sorting grandkids from an obit. Grandkids from an obit, that one's really difficult. Sometimes you can kind of tell because it goes in order of, the same order that the children are listed. So the children will be listed, and then it'd be like, and survived by the grandchildren, such and such. And then obviously with married names for the, daughters, or if any men in the family change, or any of the sons change their names, that makes it easier to correlate. Okay, let's see. So Philly had and still has a big Italian population like New York. Yes, very much so. And I love going to the Italian market whenever I'm in Philly. In fact, every time I've gone to Philly, I always end up in the Italian market at some point. And although I hear that it's really bad right now, I haven't been in a few years, but I've heard that now it's terrible, that like Pat's and Geno's have to have armed guards now. But that was like the thing, go down to Pat's. I'm more of a Pat's guy. Get Pat's, birch beer, eat that, then start walking up the street, go through the Italian market, go to all the different shops and stuff, and then usually, spend enough time that by the time it gets to dinner, go to one of the cool little backdoor little Italian restaurants in the neighborhood, or check out one of the bakeries, which there's a lot of great bakeries like off to the sides, not quite in the Italian market, but near it. All right, let's see. Well, hello, CEO Citrus Lemon. Yeah, good to see that you're not the only one going off on tangents, and then it always seems to be 2 a.m. Yeah, if you love genealogy research, it is almost guaranteed that you will end up multiple times on your computer researching nonstop into the most random of things, because you just stumbled upon some interesting story, and next thing you know, it's hours later and you were supposed to do, eat and do all sorts of stuff. And it's just like, I have too much, invested. I don't know. It's just, you get so lost in it. Yeah. Every night this week, 2 to 3 a.m. Just want to get this branch done. Oh, we got the event trooper here saying hello. Hopefully not dropping photos in the chat. It's a little insider thing for our Discord, which, reminder, if you want to check out the Discord, go into the link if you're in, not the link, the description below in YouTube. All right, let's see. Still okay. So for the death record we have on screen for Taylor Swift's great aunt, Spanish flu going around 1920, like COVID's still going around now. Yeah, the Spanish flu that was actually from Kansas, huh? Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, being sick for 5 days and then that's it. Hard to imagine. Yeah, especially because, it just means each day just gets worse and worse. And, I can't imagine just, starting out, one day just feeling really sick and just, oh man, I can't wait till I get over this. And then you just don't. So, yeah. Well, hello, Matt. Thank you for joining. Glad you're enjoying. Okay, let's continue the research. So we know here there's no children. We do want to, wrong thing. Quick edit. Add that. Died young, no children, never married. So, yeah. But interesting. It looks like she had a chance to travel before she passed, though. The family. Where were they going? Where'd they go? The SSR Carpathia, sailing from, I cannot read. See, this is the next page. The only one I caught was Gibraltar. Messina. Oh. Okay, that's number 3. That's the affidavit. Not any better. But a bit, I mean, it looks like this is basically some sort of a cruise. So we've got August 22nd, August 26th, 28th of August, 1st of September, 1911. And then they arrive September 11th, 1911. Trieste, Fiume, Messian, and Gibraltar. So yeah, so I guess the 1911, the family took a cruise on the SS Carpathia. So there's the RMS Carpathia, but then there's the SS Carpathia. Or is, because the RMS is the Royal, the British. I'm trying to remember what RMS stands for. Royal whatever. Does anyone remember what RMS stands for? I do not. Here we go. Royal Mail Ship. That's right. So, but then SS. Yeah, Carpathia was Titanic's sister ship, I thought, but that's the RMS, I think. Whereas this is, granted, I guess we are in the States, so they might just be calling it SS because it's literally written there, but it could be the RMS. I guess, yeah, let's see. Actually, I guess we could see there's some that things that'll show the trip. Let's see. RMS Carpathia, 1911. Okay, that's cool. So if this is correct, that they were on the RMS Carpathia September 3rd, 1911, because that's what this is saying, that they sailed August 22nd all the way to September 1st, and then the ship lands. When was it? The ship lands. Oh yeah, it was September 11th. The ship lands September 11th. That means that they would have. This is the dinner that they would have had, I guess, depending on what class of whatever they were. So that's kind of cool. So if anyone wants menus from a ship that Taylor Swift's great, actually, yeah, I think Taylor Swift's family was on that, or ancestor. It's obviously her family, but Charles and Louise are Taylor Swift's second great grandparents, and Louise is Taylor Swift's great grandmother. So if anybody would, oh wait, yeah, RMS Carpathia. So if anybody would like to bid on these, you're welcome, White Star Supply. But if anyone wants the the menus from a dinner that Taylor Swift's second great grandparents, great grandmother, and a bunch of second great aunts and uncles probably ate. That is kind of cool. So September 3rd, 1911. So, but that's also that's assuming a lot of stuff based on the fact that this is SS meaning RMS. And then it's not just... Actually, you know what? Let's look at the affidavits, because the affidavits might indicate more specifically. Huh. Just Carpathia. That stamp. 11th of September, 1911. From Mediterranean parts. So that's so weird. Let's see. Small ship. It was DJ Miller. Yeah. All right. We're not going to focus too much, but I think that's pretty cool. And then especially with that, you know, that connection between the Titanic, because I mean, the Titanic wasn't that long after, right? Yeah, 1912. So just like just a little bit less than a year beforehand. So that's pretty cool. So I guess that also kind of tells you that, you know, the family was probably well-to-do taking a, you know, nice vacation like that. And then kind of nice knowing Rose Baldy got to have a, you know, got to travel the world a little bit before she passed away at 28 years old. But continuing the research, let's look into now Taylor Swift's great uncle, Joseph Fioravanti Baldi II, which I guess if he's the second, is that because the grandfather's the first? Because obviously the father's not the first. Let's see, what's Charles's deal? What's your father's name, Charles? Vito. Let's see. Let's take a look at Charles from his passport application. That's not him. That's the other guy. There's Charles. It's a shame that these scans aren't higher quality. Granted, you can tell that they're real old scans. Scans these days using like the CZUR scanners are so much better. But that's a photo of him. And yeah, that's definitely, you can see it from this image. So this is Taylor Swift's second great-grandfather, Charles Baldy. But back to the whole Joseph F.M. Baldy II. Not sure why he's the second. that might be, where is that coming from? Why do we have it as the second? From Find a Grave. Find a Grave has him as the second. All right, well, let's see. He has a passport application too. Oh, you know what? Let's see this passport application. Oh no, this is 1923. I was going to say that'd be cool if we looked at the passport applications for their 1911 trip. But let's see. Come on, good photo. Oh, look at that. That's a nice photo. That is a nice photo. That honestly, the way it looks here, it kind of has that look with his skin that the MyHeritage photo enhancer kind of does. So that's kind of funny. But yeah. So there we go. Joseph F.M. Baldy, Taylor Swift's great uncle. That's who we were just looking at. But the main focus is we want to figure out, did he have children? Did he get married? Not seeing anything. Do we have an obit? Let's see what these say. All right, so we've got somebody claiming that there's children. One which died in 2009. No bio. Oh. So we know one. Phyllis Joan, who served in World War II. Or no, her husband did. That took me a second. I was about to say, I was like, oh my gosh, that's got to be really interesting. I don't know if I've seen a lot of women with, a stone like that, but obviously this is for her husband. So, all right. All right, so we know that there are more. So, we don't know the spouse's name, but we know that there were other children. And I guess we could add it through Find a Grave, but Find a Grave is not coming up for us because it's already attached here. All right, but we know Phyllis Joan. Daughter Phyllis Joan. All right, and then I'm gonna do this. Okay. So at this point, we have successfully. Oh wait, no, we haven't. I was going to say we've successfully swept the branches, but we have one last great uncle to do. Looks like he probably was married. Spouse Mildred, children Virgil. Now this is Virgil, who we know fought in World War I, based on what we saw before. So yeah, here we go. Veteran services and compensation files. So I believe this is what we were looking at before. Yeah, which is, next to him, this is Frederick. The records for Frederick, right? Yeah, Frederick. So two brothers, the oldest and the youngest of the siblings. So Virgil was the youngest, born 1898. Frederick was the oldest. And they were the only two of the 5 brothers to fight, at least according to the records. So that's interesting. Granted, it could be that they just never filed compensation files or something, but okay, let's see. We want to add the children, the spouse. We've got a marriage. I think that's probably her, Ruth Mildred. We have Mildred here, Ruth M. Johnson. For Virgil Bismarck Baldy, the son's death. So we've got that. So we're going to add this in real quick to give the marriage. And we're going to do this to add in the son. Yeah, Junior. Died at the age of 80. And then 1940, is it just Virgil? Yes. 1930, is it just Virgil? Yes. So Virgil was probably their only son. So, okay. So at this point, we've technically officially swept the branches for the next generation. So in my experience, I would say that this is actually somewhat of a smaller family, especially for having so many siblings within that generation. But, it's, let's see, we have everybody except Taylor's great grandmother had one child or no children. And Taylor's great-grandmother was the only one to seem to have had more than one child. So that's very interesting. So in my experience, this is a very small family. And especially like if this scenario were the case of, we're trying to identify a Jane Doe, Taylor Swift is a match to us, along with a bunch of other matches who have this Baldy family tree, and then we build it out, we would have a lot of, or this would be a little bit easier of one, because we have so little in the family tree that there's more confidence with each branch that we could figure it out. If we were dealing with, each child having 5 children, then on top of that, we go to the next generation and they could, that generation could have a lot of children. And so within a few generations, you have tons and tons of children, as opposed to this where, we've got, a couple of children here. If I remember correctly, there was like 1 or 2 children. I don't think we looked too hard there. We know that there was actually, I guess, no, there was, from what we saw, there might be a brother, because one of the other people in their family tree, they had a brother, but the only one that we saw from any sort of a record was Phyllis, I think. But yeah, so there's not a whole lot here to work with. And so that sounds like it's a bad thing, but in a sense with genetic genealogy, it would be a good thing. So in the sense of our scenario, it would be a good thing. But I do want to go in and I want to add these photos. Oh, come on. I thought I saw photos. Weren't there photos? No, there weren't photos of Louise. No photos of Louise. All right. So let's take a look at the full family tree. So actually, you know what? I'm going to look at it through this side. So we're going to look at everything we've built today. I think we're coming up on 2 hours streaming. So I think I'm going to be ending the stream pretty soon here. But I just want to bring all that out. So this is everything that we have built today. Yeah, I'll do that. So that's everything that we've built today for Taylor Swift's paternal side. So yeah, even without doing the quick and dirty method, you can still kind of get through a good amount. So, based on that scenario, because that Baldy name correlation, we could kind of rule out a lot of this other stuff. I do want to, they're not living, they're deceased. So, okay. So with all of that, it's a whole branch set, I guess is what I'm saying. So, all right. Let's see how everything's going with chat. Miss Silence do good. Did he cover the father's Mexican family yet? No, I did not. I didn't know that there was any Mexican family. So far, we've really only focused, we built out all of these great-great-grandparents, but then we focused on building this stuff out. So I didn't notice anything indicating possible Mexican ancestry, but let's see what the hints are for. Yeah, I mean, nothing. I'd have to take a deeper look. I mean, it seems like it's not readily apparent, but interesting. All right. The freaks are getting ideas. I'm guessing you must be talking about when I was talking about the eBay thing. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. So let's see. didn't make back to the Mayflower. Yeah, I guess not. Yeah, I imagine I probably could, depending on how her family tree is, if we did that quick and dirty method. Let's show me a few details. So yeah, I mean, we've got New York, Delaware. So I mean, we have these families going confidently, or well, not confidently, but going back. I don't know what that was for. Going back all in U.S., so I'm sure a lot of early settler stuff. Let's see. But I also, I haven't looked at it through or I briefly looked at it through the Genie tree, but oh yeah. Let's see what other people have. Lloyds of Mayford, Ontario. The Kingsley line. Okay. Got some messages. Okay. Going to get a haircut after this, so my hairstylist messaged me. Yeah. Someone should get the menus and send them to Max Miller. Yeah. Do a Carpathia menu series instead of the Titanic. Yeah. This is interesting because I was seeing videos of how she looked like the daughter of Anton Levy. She looks exactly like her. It is fascinating. Just here out of curiosity. LOL. Not sure who Anton Levy is, but thank you for joining the stream. Is Taylor Swift watching this stream? I don't know. I would love it if she was. If Taylor Swift is watching this stream, and even more if she's enjoying it, please share. And honestly, for anybody watching, if you are enjoying, please share. Greatly appreciate it. Let's see, actually. Anton Levy is a Satanist. Okay, yeah, no clue who that is. No clue. Because I have a little bit more info. So, yeah. So, okay, what I wanted to do was, looking at this tree, which may be built out. Connecticut. All right, we know this is where Taylor comes from. And look at that. It's basically a tree for Taylor Swift. So, yeah, this is kind of what I kind of knew. She already had, a bunch of people looked into it. We can see this person did not build out the Baldy side at all. They've really only focused on this: Reno, Iddings, Swift, Hawkins, Swift. So what? Yeah, assuming that this stuff is correct, definitely some seriously old stuff. All right. What about okay. Just because I want to add that photo in, because why not? Just add some flair. So yeah, there we go. We've got that, and let's see. You said it was Kingsley. Okay, so it was up this line. Well, if I add this photo in of her, why not? Save to tree. All right, now view in tree. So Do you know which line goes back to the... I'm not the greatest with knowing all of the Mayflower surnames. I know some of them, but it's also possible this person just doesn't have it figured out yet. See how view in tree. One of the things I hate about Ancestry sometimes is accidentally clicking the wrong view tree part. So, all right. Now, one thing I don't know. All right, I'm not going to do that. Not this time. I just realized that it has been streaming for a while. Oh, sorry if you guys don't like me cracking my knuckles. Deal with it. All right. So yeah, we've got a ton of this stuff built out. Couple of announcements of different things. One, next week I'm going to start streaming twice a week. I've been really enjoying doing a lot of these streams, and one thing I've kind of been not the biggest fan of is that, I do a stream on the main channel, like this Taylor Swift stream 2 weeks ago, and then it's like I wait 2 weeks, and it's like I would love to do one on each channel each week. So that's the plan, is that Fridays will be main channel videos or main channel live streams, and then I'm going to figure out maybe Monday or Tuesday, maybe a weekend day, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm going to have a day that's going to be another one that'll be the day of answering Reddit questions and stuff like that. I am working so diligently to get the Drew Durnell YouTuber Family Tree episode out. It's getting close. I've been working so hard at it. It's been a very difficult, very information dense video. Like, as I was watching through what I've got so far, I was like, maybe I have too much information in here, but I'm really excited for it. So keep your eyes out for that. It's going to come out any day. Once I get it finished, I want to kind of just get it out. But going to be increasing everything in terms of releasing stuff. For the next stream on the main channel, we're going to continue doing family trees of famous people, but we're going to be putting out a poll of some famous people that I decided to have as, or that would be good focal people. And we're going to be putting out that poll in a bit. I'm pulling it up right now so I can read it. So, okay. So the people that you're going to have to choose from for this, and remember, I'm not choosing these because I necessarily like people or anything like that. Not saying that, they're all terrible or anything, but they are all people that I chose because they are trending and also have family trees that I could see had stuff that I could really go into more than just Ancestry. So the first one, which I'm really I'm looking forward to see how everyone reacts to this. First person on the list, Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I knew this one would be kind of a risky one because if I do a stream tracing the family tree of Jeffrey Epstein, there's a lot of weird stuff that could bring a lot of people with, very specific agendas trying to jump into the stream, taking it over. So I know there's a lot of risk there, but, I've seen a lot of bigger streamers take on things like that, or take on controversial subjects in a sense, that in a non-controversial way, like just building his tree. I'm not talking about the guy, but that's one option. The next option, Mark Cuban. So I'm sure that that's one that some people aren't the biggest fans of him, but not quite a controversial figure like Jeffrey Epstein. Next two, though, are people that I think everyone really enjoys, and that would be Zac Efron and Michael J. Fox. So I'm going to be putting out a poll probably on the main channel, having you choose who do you want me to trace the family tree of in the next live stream. Jeffrey Epstein, Mark Cuban, Zac Efron, or Michael J. Fox. So those are the options. Now, I am taking suggestions for future ones. I mean, I obviously want to do a lot of these, so we need a lot of people on the list. So these are going to be ones that I just have on the list now. We'll see how that poll goes out, and whoever wins, that'll be the focus. And then, for the next polls, we'll add in more people. So, if there's someone that you really want me to trace the family tree of or anything like that, and I didn't list them, suggest it to me. And one other thing I should say too, I know a lot of people are constantly asking me about, do you take on clients? Do you do anything like that? I do have the option through my Patreon to do one-to-one meetings, but I'm also working towards making it so people can hire me for one-on-one meetings, consultations, in outside of Patreon. I know not everyone wants to do it in Patreon and all that, so I've got to figure out a whole lot of different things with it, but that's going to be something that I should be rolling out soon. So, if you are interested in that, let me know, and kind of make a list of people that, make a list of people that I'll contact once that happens. So that's going to be it for me today. I see a bunch of people commenting about different people they would love to see. Some people I see that are on Jeffrey Epstein's list, but not Jeffrey Epstein. And then Kate McKinnon. Yeah, I'm not familiar with what her tree's like, but I do. I love a lot of her skits on SNL. George Clooney. Yeah, voting for Michael J. Fox. Maybe Elon Musk, he was actually someone on my list, and I can't remember, but I think his tree's a little difficult. I don't know. Donald Trump, that's one I thought about too. But yeah, I mean, basically, like I said, the main focus is, one, someone who's trending, two, someone who has a family tree that branches into something that I can go into, like really cool records and websites and things like that. And my dream was to find someone who has Dutch Jewish ancestry, because that's my specialty, especially Portuguese, Dutch Jewish, Portuguese Jewish community of Amsterdam, Portuguese Israël for anyone who's Dutch. So if anyone knows any, that would be awesome. But otherwise, any that are, fall into those categories, trending, and has something that, an interesting tree. Obviously, I'll know once I look at it if it's whatever. Kevin Bacon and Make the Degrees of Separation with Everyone. I would, except he's already been on Finding Your Roots. So lots already covered. But yeah, so all right. Well, that's it for today's stream. Thank you so much, everybody that was here. Be on the lookout for when I'm going to be doing my question streams on the second channel. But from now on, every Friday, 2 p.m. or so, we'll be doing these streams on the main channel. So everyone have a wonderful rest of your Friday, or I guess if you're on the other side of the world, it might already be Saturday, and then enjoy your weekend. So bye, everybody.